Hey everybody, good morning. Me and the pugs are here, and I just wanted to come on here early because I know I didn't come on at all yesterday. And it was definitely a heavy day, and it was my Friday at work. So I do work a graveyard shift. So my Fridays are hard because I stay up all day and try to get back on a normal sleep schedule. So I'm embarking upon my weekend, and I just wanted to, first things, I stop on the staircase right now and just say that I'm here, I'm alive again. But that it is definitely heavy out there. I won't get into too much of that right now, but like I said, um, prophetically, I'm definitely getting so much right now that I can't even get it organized. There is definitely a lot of things occurring in heaven and hell right now, because we know hell, even though it's powerless ultimately against God and heaven, it doesn't go down without a fight, right? So just remember that, where maybe you're in a feeling right now, everybody's just heavy out there. All the prophetic voices, the prophets, apostles, like all of them. Just remember that hell wouldn't try to come up against something that it didn't have an assignment to take down. Okay. And that's really what's happening with you, is you're trying to be taken down. So I will just tell you this. If you're in a situation where, for me, the hardest moments in my journey are always when the enemy, it's not so much that the enemy attacks like what got promised, or what I see, what I don't see, just anything. Honestly, my big thing, and this is just my particular experience from being a widow, is when he tries to get me to think God is not who God says he is. And that's very easy to fall into when things don't look a certain way, or if they go haywire and look totally opposite, right? Or when you feel so anxious to know more and God isn't giving you more. Okay, there could be many reasons. I won't get into all of that right now, why God isn't revealing more. It could be that you're out of alignment, and this is just examples. It could be that there's no more to know. It could be that he's asking you to rest. It could be a lot of different things, you guys. So that's why just communicating and staying in the secret place and always talking to him. And I hear you. I do want to try to get around to this message too. My weekend's just so full right now. I have so much stuff that I'm trying to get to, but he also wants us to ask the right questions. Something my mentor taught me is he doesn't want surface level questions. After a while, sometimes you're just like, Lord, okay, tell me. And you just leave it up to him to tell you the specifics of the answers that you want. No, he's asking you to meditate, see what comes to your mind, what he potentially brings to your mind. And even if it's not him and you're worried it's not him, still ask him. He still will give you wisdom. That's what the Bible says, right? So ask him to give you the wisdom for the right questions to ask too. So what that can look like is, okay, Lord, let's say you're in the beginning of whatever you think God promised. Like, start asking specifics about the promise potentially. And if he doesn't give you answers, that's fine. That means he's not ready to give them to you. But it could mean he's saying, shelf it, I'll make it make sense later. And it could just mean there you go. You just asked the right question, because guys, he's asking us to seek him, not us to just say, okay, here I am, Lord. I have a relationship with you. You tell me everything I need to know. He's asking you to stay in the scriptures, stay in the journey, and then those questions will start to come to mind. Now, some might be from the enemy, but either way, that's where discernment comes into play, right? We take it back to God and say, okay, this is a question I have, God. Would you be willing in your mercy to let me know any revelation about this? And it could just be in part. He doesn't give you, just like us in the prophetic, he doesn't give you full revelation sometimes. He gives you just part of it to sustain you and to make sure you stay in alignment. Does that make sense? I don't want to get into a whole lot of that right now, but I'll try to touch on more of that later. But I was dark yesterday, and I'm okay for sure, but it was heavy. Especially as someone operating in the prophetic and my own journey as well. So I'm just trying to make sure that the one thing that's the most valuable to me, which is my relationship with God, and I don't want anything that God promised me to ever pull me away from God. And so that takes a lot of honestly, a lot of intentional decisions to not go by what natural says before supernatural, okay? And that also means being willing to always reflect and say, okay, God, you don't want to just keep asking him something that he's made clear. That can be a slippery slope. But it is saying, I'm giving you room to make it make sense in a way that I know I'll have your best laid plans, but that maybe my finite brain couldn't fathom. And he will not give you all that revelation at once. But it's kind of like when my husband was sick and died. There was a promise in place, and I know I heard him right. But the way he made it make sense as to where I am now, was different than what I thought then. Was it the same promise? Yes. I can't reveal all of this, guys, because it's going to come out in my books. But you don't have to worry at all. Let me, what does my mentor say? Free your heart. You have nothing to worry about. But that's where that trust that the God we read about in the Bible is exactly who he says he is, meaning he will not lie. I can't tell you the when, the how, or the who all the time, but I can tell you that he won't lie. And whatever you endure for, he's going to make sure it's that Jeremiah 29:11 moment, which is, I have good plans for you. And they're always, always going to be better than what you thought. But remember, you're becoming a certain type of person when that promise or whatever your calling has arrived. Your calling is definitely someone, your purpose and calling, that's ultimately what it's all about. And you definitely have to become a new person. You have to become new wineskin. You have to become transformed. And so that's where the waiting comes into play. If you get too focused on what you're being transformed for, you will forget that the helpful thing is the healthy distraction of focusing on how you're being actually transformed for it. Does that make sense? What the devil will do is get you more fixated on what you're being transformed for, to be prepared for, than the actual preparation itself. And sometimes God's just saying, I'm asking you to focus on the preparation, because that relationship with me is what comes in the preparation and the transformation, okay? The thing that he promised you is what he's preparing you for. Person, place, thing, I don't know. But that will come, and he'll ask you to focus on that, and he'll give you revelation on that and instructions for that when those moments happen. They'll be sporadic. Sometimes they'll be on hold. Sometimes they'll be on pause. Sometimes he'll fast forward you. He'll even remind you sometimes to make something make sense that he told you a while back. And it's not rewind as far as going back to the past. It's making something make sense that he told you a ways back that now could mean this moving forward. Does that make sense? It's not confusion. It's just he takes the same thing. It's like taking the same vessel and making it mean something else. We become somebody else. He can do that with words too. It doesn't change that it meant what it meant when you first heard it, if he confirmed it, but it could mean that he'll use it again because he knows that's familiar to you and you'll pick it up. Does that make sense too? Okay, I got a little bit off there, but I hope that was some goodies. The Lord did say to me, though, I took a note, what he said to me about, there's a place in the scriptures in Matthew, I believe it's, forgive me guys, it's Matthew 7, where it talks about true disciples, and it says, I'll read it here. Let me just put this up here, guys. It says true disciples, and it's Matthew 7:11. Not everyone who calls out to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven. Only those who actually do the will of my Father in heaven will enter. On judgment day, many will say to me, Lord, Lord, we prophesied in your name and cast out demons in your name and performed many miracles in your name. But I will reply, I never knew you. Get away from me. You break God's laws. So this is the NLT translation, but let me read a little bit of commentary on it. It says, I once had a crack on, I once had a crack on a wall of my house. No matter how many times I had it fixed, the crack came back. This is commentary by Tony Evans. Finally, I learned the problem wasn't the wall. The problem was the shifting foundation. Many of us have cracks in our lives, emotional, relational, financial, but we address them as symptoms and not the source of the problem. Jesus concluded the Sermon on the Mount was a story about two men who had three things in common. Each man built a house, both heard the words of Jesus, and both encountered a violent storm. That's where the similarities of the contrast begins. One of these men was wise and the other foolish. Wisdom is the ability to be willing and apply spiritual truth to life's circumstances in contrast. So what we're saying here, guys, is sometimes we're in seasons right now where God's allowing the enemy to test us, because that's that storm that tests our foundation. It's like when they earthquake-proof buildings, in order for them to see if they're going to withstand the earthquake, they have to make them shake. They have to put them through those, what are they called in earthquakes? Sorry, guys, I'm just waking up. Just, the movement that happens during earthquakes. They have to test the building in that way. You're the building. You're being tested. God's trying to show you where your cracks are, okay? I'm a little tired. This is coming out a little funky, but you get it. You're in a situation right now where you might be close to something, and God's just earthquake proofing you, okay? The promise is big too. His glory takes us the ability as well to make sure that our foundation is strong too, because it's not just the foundation that has to be strong for the warfare and the suffering. It's also the promise itself. So guys, you're just in you're in a foundation proving season, okay? So just pass the test, and even if you get shaken, don't let your building fall, okay? Because I hear you are building something. I'll pop back in later, guys.